We're live.
And of course, I had to go off screen so you didn't see my sneeze. But hello, everyone who is tuning in this evening to join Carol Fife, your council member for District 3, for I think it's our first live conversation in quite some time. And I have my handy dandy fan here, so I hope it doesn't cause too much of any kind of feedback or any distracting sounds while I'm talking to you all. But it's hot out. It's hot out. It's hot in. And, I'm just praying for safety for the folks who are having to battle this outdoors or the people who don't have the luxuries like my little handy dandy fan here to get through this particular heat wave that we're experiencing. The forecasters are saying that this weekend is going to bring some rain and cool things down and address some of the fires that we're experiencing in California. But the fires that we're experiencing socially have been burning for a long time, and it's going to take some time to address those. And once again, I'm committed to doing that work. But today, we're here to talk about a few of the ballot measures that will be in front of Oakland voters this fall. And because I have a hard stop this evening to attend additional meetings around some really critical issues that are happening in the city, I only have 30 minutes to try to get through all of the questions and comments in the presentation around two of the ballot measures that I'm helping to sponsor this November. So a couple of those that we're going to talk about tonight are measures Q and measure V. And Q is the affordable housing, or the ballot measure that authorizes the development of low income units. And the other one is the Just Cause Amendment. But altogether, there are there are 10 City of Oakland ballot measures that will be in front of you this November 2022. 9 of them are from the City of Oakland, and 1 is for the school district in Oakland. So I just wanted to clarify, we're going to try to get through those over the next few weeks with special guest speakers and just additional information that gets a little bit more into the details than what we're going to be able to do with you all today. So why don't we just get started? Here's the little overview. Measure Q, which is to authorize low rent housing units, and Measure V is to extend the just cause for eviction measure that was passed in 2002. That's, a long time ago, 2 decades ago. So let's go ahead and get into this brief presentation. So Measure Q is a ballot initiative that my team worked on. It is the only ballot measure that I am solely bringing forward this fall. And it really is to address a segregationist, racist law that was passed in November of 1950. And so Measure Q was in reaction to the federal legislation that was passed by President Harry Truman at the time that required the entire nation to address the housing crisis that they were experiencing at the time by creating public housing across the country. And so there were groups of individuals in California, specifically in Eureka, where this legislation initiated, which was, I believe, called Prop 10 at the time. Not the Prop 10 we know, Prop 10 to repeal Costa-Hawkins, but Prop 10 in 1950 specifically was in reaction to the call to create public housing and to create subsidized housing for low-income Americans. And so the racist response to that at that time was like, yeah, we don't want that. We don't want people who need subsidies to live in our neighborhoods. And so to push back on that, we're going to amend the California Constitution to require that anybody who wants to develop, construct, or acquire low-income units has to get the approval of the residents of that particular city, county, or municipality. And so with the assistance of the predecessor to the California Association of Realtors and other neighborhood groups, ignore that, other neighborhood groups, this law passed. And so now any city throughout the state of California that is interested in expanding housing for the most vulnerable residents has to get voter approval. So contrary to what the detractors are saying, contrary to the argument that you'll see in the ballot book, this is not a tax. This is not an additional policy. What this is actually just abiding by the law, the rule of law in California. So I'll read the exact language. You can see it on the screen. This is what you'll see on your ballot. This is what you'll be voting on, which is, shall the measure to authorize the city of Oakland to develop, construct, or acquire or assist the development of up to 13,000 low rent residential units and social housing projects within the city for the purpose of providing affordable rental housing be adopted. So in just layman's terms, that means we're asking you if we can develop 13,000 affordable units. Is that cool with you? It's just that simple. There's some organizations that are trying to make it more complicated, but it really is simple. Should we continue to hold up this racist segregationist law in the city of Oakland? And so we can move forward to the next slide. The reason that we did this, the number 13,000, is because the state of California's Housing and Community Development Department requires every municipality in the state of California to create a number, or to have a number of units that they are developing. And because Oakland is behind and it's very low income and low income unit development, we didn't hit the mark for what we were supposed to develop over the last 8 years. So we're behind in those two very key areas. And we have new numbers that we have to address. So we have to, by 2023 to 2032, I believe, develop at least 10,000 units of new housing. That doesn't include the old number that we didn't hit when we didn't meet our RENA goals over the last cycle. So that's why we decided that if we get the authorization now, we won't have to come back to the voters every single time and ask permission. Can we build low income units? Can we build low income units? Can we acquire? Whatever. So if we do it all in one whop, we don't have to waste time on these particular requests to Oakland voters. And so I think it's also important that we got breaking news that this complete statewide piece of legislation, once again, I'm going to keep calling it what it is, which is a racist barrier to housing. In 2024, Oakland, Los Angeles, San Diego, Napa, every city in California will have the opportunity to completely remove Article 34 from the California Constitution. So right now we're just getting the authorization. We're abiding by the law in Oakland for 2022, but in 2024 it will be on the state ballot so that we can get rid of this law once and for all. And so it is no longer a barrier to the construction for affordable units that are so desperately needed throughout the state of California. You'll hear me say it again and again, that we've got to address the housing crisis, not just the housing crisis, but the specifically affordability crisis throughout the state, as we are home to 25% of the nation's homeless population. And that is because of decades-long laws that are still on the books, like Article 34, that make it possible to discriminate against people of low incomes. And let's end it, 2024. That's it. So it's important to say, what is low income? People ask that all the time. In California, in Oakland, California specifically, a single person earning $76,750 or less is considered low income. So that's really important to know. And a person that's very low income earns $50,000, low income $30,000, extremely low, and acutely low is less than $15,000. So we have a lot of our people who are on fixed incomes, a lot of students, people who have disabilities. A lot of folks are just completely priced out of the existing housing market because we don't have these units. And so it prevents people from plunging into homelessness if we address this really critical population. Next slide. What it doesn't do, it doesn't raise taxes, number one, because in the ballot book, you'll see people that are trying to say that this particular measure raises taxes. That is a lie. You should call it when you see it, and you should tell it to get behind you, because that is a lie. It does not allocate funding for any development projects. So all of the projects that are in the pipeline um, for acquisition or development, it doesn't address those things. It just simply gives authorization. It doesn't obstruct the city of Oakland's ability to construct housing for people with higher incomes. And so that's really important. It simply does what I already said. It gives the city the authorization to construct these types of low income units without having to go back to the voters for every single project by project. It's a part of some other ballot initiatives. It's already embedded in the language. And to me, this is probably one of the most simplest ballot measures that will be in front of voters this fall. It's a no-brainer. And I really want everybody to support it. It's just makes sense. It's logical. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about some other things that are logical. So we'll also be discussing Measure V, which is expanding the just cause for eviction ordinance. And as I said in my intro, in 2002, Oakland voters passed Measure EE, and that was the ordinance that gave language to just cause, or what it means to have a reason, a justified reason to evict someone. And so over time, that ordinance has had to be amended. So each time that an amendment takes place, it has to be approved by the voters. And that's why this fall we are coming forward asking for amendments to do 4 very specific things. And that is to, I'm sorry, next slide. So let's read the exact language. It tells about those 4 things that I was just going to say. This is what you will see in your ballot book. Shall the measure amending the just cause for eviction ordinance to number 1, prohibit no-fault evictions of children and educators during the school year. 2, extend eviction protections to tenants and recreational vehicles, tiny homes on wheels, and newly constructed units except during the first 10 years after issuance of the certificate of occupancy. 3, remove failure to sign a new lease as grounds for eviction. And 4, make other clarifying amendments be adopted. That's a question. Do you think those things are necessary? And, you know, the city council unanimously thought that it should. Next slide. So the city council put this measure in front of the voters for this fall because we feel that it promotes housing stability and protects some of Oakland's most vulnerable residents, including children who have no say in whether they can stay in a property or not. So it seeks to disrupt those evictions that take place during the school year. We want to increase the stability of families who are already just hanging on by the balance, and prevents disruptive and sometimes devastating impacts on their development. And then it also helps to maintain the ability of people in all income categories to live in the city of Oakland. Next slide. Thank you, Jyoti. Jyoti's like sending me messages in the chat saying, remember, this is educational. We're educating people. So wink. What it doesn't do, it doesn't remove any existing elements of the just cause ordinance. It just is adding additional protections. And it does not require additional funding from taxpayers to implement any of these things. Next slide. Oh, this is so awesome. Oh, was that it, Jyoti? I'm going to have plenty of time to get to my next meeting. I wanted to take questions from people who might be listening, but I know this is our first time back in a long, long time. There are so many things happening in the city right now. I'm getting executive notifications emailed to me that I really should be responding to, of things that are happening in the district. At the top of this live, I talked about the social fires that are happening, which are the figurative but actual things that are happening in District 3. And right now, today specifically, there are about half a dozen things that are crises that I have to deal with. You probably read the newsletter. Some of the things are listed there, but just stay tuned. We are still on recess. We will be commencing with our city council schedule beginning next week. We have a public safety committee meeting next Tuesday. It's the committee that I chair. Lots of information to discuss there. But Jyoti, I'm not seeing many questions or any questions for that matter. So I don't know if we should just do this as a quick, brief informational on these two ballot measures and then come back with people for the next live. Hit me up in the chat and let me know what you think. Okay, so I just got word from my producer that we can go ahead and sign off. So I am wishing everyone the best in this particular summer heat wave. It's a lot to try to get through, but please be out there, be safe. I'll be continuing to do my part, and give me a call. Hit me up at district3@oaklandca.gov if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about what should be happening or what is happening in the district, and we'll be in touch. Thanks for tuning in.